So far we just completed 3 sessions. In the first session, we discussed about what does it mean by Oracle Fusion applications and what is the difference between SAS, PaaS, and IaaS. So mostly we discussed these points, and we gone through the course curriculum. In the second session, we discussed about RBAC, role-based access control, how that access can be provisioned to any user. So that relevant, what are the roles, what are the type of roles we have, and we just compared with the EBS and we discussed. Apart from that, we discussed about Fusion users, the different type of users. In third session, yesterday session, third session we discussed about more on implementation user and the roles which need to be assigned to implementation user and employee user, and we discussed about implementation user versus employee user by including the point called procurement agent. So this is what we discussed in the last 3 sessions. The same 3 sessions video links also I shared today along with the meeting link. So any questions from these 3 sessions, please? Any questions from anyone, please? If no questions, we can start with the
Lakshman, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, Lakshman, can you just recap about the procurement agent?
If you have any doubt on that, any clarification required, please let me know.
Yeah.
No, just I'm asking you, just if you any clarification required, please let me know. We discussed because we just spent some time to discuss that. Again, if I'm going to talk about that, I mean, for most of the people, it may become like not necessary information in this stage. So see, if you already attended session and you got you need some clarity, let me know. Just you can raise that question. Otherwise, if you say like you didn't attend the session, I just request you to go through that session. After going through the session, you may come back to me with the questions.
Okay.
Yep. Fine. Any specific question, let me know. Definitely we can talk on that. So when I talk about procurement, is nothing but buyer. Okay, in EBS, so we create employee as a buyer so that employee will be able to work on procurement documents, purchase orders, approvals process, or creation. Here the same logic. And apart from procurement documents, if you want to create supplier sites, the supplier sites can be created by procurement agent only. If you have any user as a procurement agent, that user only can create the supplier sites. Before that, whom we can make as a procurement agent? We can create employee as a procurement agent. So first we have to create employee. Employee can be converted as a procurement agent. Only procurement agent can create supplier sites. This is what we discussed as a summary point. Okay, fine. Any other questions, please? Yeah, any questions from anyone, please? This is what we discussed. Okay, employee user can be converted as a procurement agent. Only procurement agent can create supplier sites. And these are the 2 points which you have to consider. Only employee user can be created as a procurement agent. Only procurement agent, nothing but buyer, can create supplier site. When you talk about financials, this is the point we have to understand. When you talk about procurement or say purchasing, only procurement agent can create requisitions, purchase orders. Okay, fine.
In the first class, when we discussed for PaaS, you had mentioned that the external database access will not be there, but there are some tools within the application that will allow you to access the database.
Yes.
In the case of IaaS, will an external database tool be allowed to connect to the database?
Yeah. See, when you talk about IaaS, it's all about you are going to buy server space. Okay. So within that server space IaaS, if you are going to take Oracle Fusion application subscription from Oracle, it's not allowed. Say you are going to take the Fusion applications license from Oracle. When you take the product license, you can install that product in any environment, any server. It can be on-premise or any cloud. So if that is a scenario, you can connect with the third-party tools. And if you are going to take the subscription from Oracle, and if you are going to opt model called as IaaS, in that case it won't be applicable. Okay. Along with this IaaS service, if you are going to take the Fusion application subscription from Oracle, you cannot connect. If you are going to take the license, then in any server, it could be cloud or on-premise, you can install your applications, licensed applications. So in that case, you can connect with the third-party tools also.
Okay, so it's a matter of just license versus subscription, be it IaaS or PaaS.
Exactly. If you take license, you can install in any server, right? If you take subscription, that means with this option you are taking the subscription. Means since there is a subscription, you won't have a additional privileges to play with that. And since the model is IaaS, you may take Fusion application subscription, so that you cannot touch, but rest of any other applications you can install into this IaaS model. With those applications you will have a full privileges. If you are installing, means always you have to think you are not taking subscription, you are taking license.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So any other questions, please? Fine, since no questions. Okay, now we'll talk about Fusion architecture. So we know very well what is the basic architecture we have in EBS. When you talk about EBS, it's very simple. We'll have a applications, Oracle applications, and we'll have a database. So when you talk about applications, we know very well we have a financial applications and SCM projects, HRMS, many applications like GL, AP, ER, CM, FA, PO, OM, INV, HRMS, HR, payroll, etc. Right? And when I talk about database, we have Oracle database. So what we do here is, so what any application, okay, every application directly will be connected to the database. So whatever the activities you do as a part of that application, that could be configuration or transactional data, directly that would get stored in the respective database tables. And if you want to do some integration, what we have to do is, so directly we'll be integrating third-party application with any one of these applications. So you want to integrate some XYZ third-party application with accounts payable application to get the invoices information into AP, or else maybe like the expense report information you want to get into AP from third-party application. In that case, in case of EBS, what we do, directly we integrate that application with any one of these application. How you are going to connect the third-party application, the respective business process. So the direct integration. And again here, so these applications and the database will have a direct connectivity to, and any security also will be managed as a part of application. So when I talk about security, here we have a AOL and application object library and sysadmin. So these are the applications which will look after the security based on the responsibilities, menus, users, what we create and manage. That means just here you can see very high level, just two layers. Of course there will be a user interface also, where they'll be connecting and accessing application, that we no need to take into consideration to understand these points. just two layers you can see here. One is application layer, other one database layer. So whatever you do through application, that would get stored in the database, and whatever you have in the database, that you will be able to see from the respective applications or by running some report. So there is no intermediate channel between these applications and database, direct communication. Even if you are going to integrate any third party application, or if you are going to involve connect with any process, those applications or third party applications directly will have a communication with applications. And when you are integrating third party application through Oracle applications, EBS Oracle application, direct integration only, there is no some intermediate channel, some interim channel we don't have. So direct communications, applications to database or third party applications to Oracle application, direct communication we can establish. So there is nothing which will be monitoring all these integrations or data flows or security aspects. But in Fusion, when you look at the Fusion architecture, you can see the top level on top you can see Oracle Fusion applications like Oracle application, EBS applications. Say on top you can see Oracle Fusion applications, and you can see Oracle, sorry, say databases. Okay, database. So, and when I talk about Fusion applications, same like a Fusion GL, Fusion AP, Fusion AR, Fusion CM, Fusion FA, Fusion PO, OM, and there are many other applications we know very well. The same way, when I talk about databases, in Fusion we have two databases. One is Oracle database, other one is Essbase database. Essbase database. Okay. So here, now in the Fusion applications, we have one layer as a applications, another layer as a database. What are the data you enter here, that would get stored here, and what are the data you will be processing, or what are the access you will be getting to the specific applications, everything will be monitored by middleware. We have another layer as a middleware. Okay, the between the applications and database we have a middleware. As a part of middleware, what we have and why we have, we'll discuss those points. So as a part of middleware, we have IDM. The same IDM you can call as OIM, and we have a BPM, we have a APM, and we have UCM, and we have like say SOVA, BPEL. There are many other components we have as a part of middleware. Okay, so we'll talk about those middleware components. This simply we call as a components. Okay, these we all we call as middleware components. Why we require, how these will come into the picture when we are going to use these Fusion applications. We'll talk about that. We no need to talk about this Fusion application, same as EBS here. Just they upgraded that applications, the solution and all. They did some announcements and they added some new functionalities, and there are some changes anyway that we are going to see. So we have a Fusion applications. There are many applications. When I talk about financials, along with that, of course, we have Fusion expense and Fusion tax, other applications also. And first we'll go with these points. Middleware. When I talk about middleware components, simply we call all these as a middleware components. There are many middleware components, but whatever relevant, what we should understand very basic level based on our role, or as a in any project which we come across, we'll discuss those points. So what is IDM? When you talk about middleware, what is IDM? IDM stands for Identity Manager. The same IDM you can call as OIM. OIM stands for Oracle Identity Manager. Both are same. Okay, IDM or OIM. Okay, what is the use of IDM? With IDM, you can create the users. Okay, and we can assign roles to the users. Okay, and you can create custom roles. These activities you can perform from IDM. The same IDM you can call as OAM also. And here we have another component called as APM. I'll go with APM. This is a BPM. I'll take in the sequence. APM. What is the meaning of APM? APM stands for Authorization Policy Manager, or in other words you can say Access Policy Manager. Okay, Authorization Policy Manager or Access Policy Manager. So what is the use of this APM? In the APM you can maintain the role templates, and you can use this APM also for custom roles. Okay, so IDM and OIM both are same. IDM stands for Identity Manager, OIM stands for Oracle Identity Manager. So the purpose is you can create the users, you can assign the roles, and you can create the custom roles. Which users you can create in IDM or OIM? Implementation user. We'll get clarity. We discussed a few points earlier, and now those you can find as a totally different. Why different, how these are different, we are going to discuss in a couple of minutes. Okay, implementation user. So in IDM or OIM we can create the implementation users, and we can assign the roles to those users, and if required we can create the custom roles. And what is the use of APM? With the help of APM you can maintain the role templates and you can create the custom roles. So in APM, what is the meaning of role templates? So we discussed till release 11. Okay, till release 11. Sorry. So when you create primary ledger or business unit, system will create data roles automatically. Data roles automatically till release 11. Till release 11, system creates data roles automatically. To say for example, I created primary ledger. When you create the primary ledger, how system will understand the primary ledger need to be assigned to which job roles? So for system understanding, what Oracle it is, in APM application they are providing one role template for GL. Say GL role template. Okay, GL role template. Within that they are providing the GL related roles. Say GL related roles are general accountant, general accounting manager, and say controller. Just for our understanding, I am taking only just 3 roles here. So these are the 3 seeded roles Oracle is providing for GL. In GL, for GL they are giving the 5 roles as a seeded roles. We'll talk on that just for our understanding. So what Oracle is doing is within APM, okay, within APM, Authorization Policy Manager, okay, application or component, middleware component, for each application they are providing the role templates. So GL role template, how many roles we have? 3 roles. So they did the programming. The primary ledger component will be working at which application level? When you talk about multi-org structure in our EBS, so as per multi-org structure, primary ledger level we map GL application, right? General ledger application we map at primary ledger level. So based on that level of mapping, they did a programming in the system application. So whenever we create the primary ledger, system has to look at GL related role template. It has to look at GL related role template. Within the role template, how many roles are there? For all the roles, primary ledger need to be assigned automatically. That's how they did the programming. So the moment you create the primary ledger will get assigned to the 3 roles, which roles we have in the GL role template. In the same way, if you create business unit, it's equal to operating unit in EBS. In Fusion business unit, BU we are calling the same, in EBS we are calling as OU. The moment you create the OU, what system will do is, it will look at all the applications, which applications can be mapped at BU level, in EBS OU level. Operating unit level, which modules we map from the financials, payables, receivables, that's all. Right? The FA will be mapped at GL level and cash management mapped at LE level. So finance side, GL is mapped, GL is just already discussed, primary ledger or GL will be mapped. Remaining AP and AR only can be managed at operating unit level. The same way here, BU level. So when you create the business unit, what system will do is, finance point of view, the system will look at AP role template and AR role template. So within AP role template, we have 2 roles. In AR role template, we have 3 roles. Now what system will do is, whatever the business unit we are creating, that business unit, it will assign to the 2 roles what we have for AP, or else say in AP we have payables manager. Okay, for receivables, say receivables manager, or receivables specialist, or payables specialist, or payables supervisor. Okay, so there are roles which will come across those just for our understanding. Now just I'm taking this point. Say for example, in AP role template we have 1 role, in AR role template only 1 role we have. The moment you create the business unit, based on the programming what they did, okay, where what level the BU can be mapped, automatically system will assign this business unit to payables manager and to payable receivables manager. So the combination of role and business unit, or the combination of these roles and primary ledger only we are calling as a data role. So data role concept we have till release 11. Okay, that is the reason. So we have a APM application. So in the APM application, we maintain the role templates. Within the role template, you can have roles. The moment you create the primary ledger or business unit, automatically system will assign that primary ledger or business unit to specific roles. Okay, then one system will assign that combination only we are calling as a data roles. Okay, that is the purpose we have APM. And IDM, what we can do, we can create the implementation user and we can assign the roles and we can create the custom roles. Okay, this is the point what we have to understand. So whatever the points we are discussing, all these are applicable up to release 11. From 12 what they did, Oracle is completely stopped access to these 2 areas, IDM and APM, or you may call as OM. Okay, from IDM or OM, what we can do, we can create users and you can assign the roles and we can create the custom roles. This access completely they are preventing. They are not allowing us to access to IDM, okay, or APM from release 12. Why? Why we don't need access to APM? The reason is, why we are using the APM? To maintain the role templates. If you maintain the role templates, whenever you create the primary ledger or business unit, system will create the data roles. That means for data role creation purpose, we are using APM. From release 12, already we discussed this point. From release 12, there is no data roles concept. That means if data roles concept is not there, we no need to maintain any role templates. Role templates help the system to understand and to create the data roles. But from release 12, they remove data roles concept. So that is the reason APM access we don't require. Okay, fine. But we require access to IDM or OAM to create the users and to assign the roles or to create the custom roles. Yes, we need access to IDM. Okay, since from release 12, they are allowing us to create the users and assign the roles and create the custom roles, but not from IDM. So whatever you can access from IDM, the IDM related access they are provisioned from release 12 with the concept called as security console. Okay, from security console we can create the users and we can assign the roles and we can create the custom roles. So till release 11, whatever we could do from IDM or OAM, that you can perform from release 12 by using the security console. That means for security console, the background component is IDM only. That's what we have to understand. But you don't see that environment as a IDM environment, but the background IDM only will be running. But front end, we can see that as a security console from release 12. If you want to create the users or role assignment or custom roles, everything you can do from security console. From release 12, you don't see IDM or APM. APM is not required, reason no data roles concept, that is the reason no APM. And when you talk about IDM or OAM, so that with IDM or OAM, what we can do up till release 11, the same you can do from security console. So this is a point we have to understand. Any questions on this, please?
Hello.
Please go ahead. Any question from anyone, please?
Unit. Hello.
I'm sorry, one second. Sorry, there was some network issue. It got disconnected and connected again. Yeah, please go ahead with your question.
Okay, so you said till release 11.
Can you be a bit loud, please? Can you be a bit loud?
Yes.
Please.
Yes. So you said till release 11,
yep,
we had a data role concept.
Correct.
So basically, like when we create a primary ledger and business unit,
yes,
it would get assigned to the appropriate roles, whether it's a
yes,
GL role, AP, or AR.
Yes.
So let's say we are creating like, 3 BUs. So would it give access of all three BUs to all the AP and AR responsibilities, and we won't be able to restrict
yes,
the access based on BU or primary ledger?
Yes. Yeah, that will happen. You are creating 3 BUs. For 3 BUs will be assigned to payables manager. Before that, when you create the BU, we have one more point. Say you are creating BU1 and BU2 and BU3. Okay. So when you are creating BU, we have a concept called as business unit business functions that you can understand once you get into application. But let me try to explain here. So for BU1, you selected AP only. Okay, BU level you can specify which applications you are going to implement for the particular BU. That setup is available in the Fusion. For BU2, you selected AP and AR related business functions. For BU3, okay, you selected purchasing. Now, if you create the BU1, system will assign this BU1 to AP related data roles only. It won't assign to AR related. Reason, the BU level you specified this BU we are going to implement only for this BU we are going to implement only AP. Okay, so BU2 you selected AP and AR. That means system will assign this BU to AP and AR related roles. That means system will create data roles for AP and AR for BU2. When you talk about BU3, for BU3 you are going to select only procurement, purchasing related business functions. That means system will create for BU3 only PO related data roles, not AP or AR.
So if I want one user to give access for AP roles in BU1 and 2, and the other user I want to give access to AP roles for only BU1, I cannot do that. Because AP role would have access to both BU1 and BU2.
No. See,
And I cannot restrict one user to only use
one
BU1
second.
in our scenario.
See, 1 second. AP role will have access to BU1 and BU2. The access definition would be separate. Okay. The AP will be mapped with BU1. Okay, BU1. This is a one role, and AP will have this two also. These are two separate. The AP will have access
Separate roles.
to one BU2. If you want to give these two data roles you have to assign to the user. If you want to give access to only one, you assign only one to user. Possible in EBS. What we do with the responsibility, you can manage that. In the same way here, with the roles you can manage. Possible.
Okay. So just one question for clarification. So is it true to say that one role would only have access to one BU?
Wrong.
For AP and AR?
No. One role can have access to multiple BUs. Let me ask you one question here. Do you think one responsibility can have access to only one operating unit in EBS?
No, it can have access to more than one.
Can have access to multiple OUs. In the same way here, one role can have access to multiple BUs. How one responsibility can have access to multiple OUs in EBS? With security profile concept. Security profile, right?
Yes.
The same security profile concept we have in Fusion also. With the help of that, the same applicable here. Okay.
Thank you.
Fine, thanks. Any other questions from anyone, please? Okay. So just I am trying to introduce these components also for our better understanding. Tomorrow if somebody is going to speak IDM and OEM, after going through these all classes also you should not get a question. Okay, these are there till 11. Okay, but when we are going to use a security console in the background, these only will be running. But anyway, APM access we are not going to get. The purpose of APM is to manage the role templates. Now no more role templates from release 12. In 12 or 13 we don't have any role templates, no data roles concept. So whatever system, however system do that data role definition, that will be done by us through manual process. So since we are going to assign that, we don't call as data role, that just we call as role mapping with the BUR primary ledger. We'll discuss those points. So any questions on these points, please?
Yeah, you had mentioned that security console in RTOL is nothing but the IDM before. So if we want to create a user,
it's not nothing but
a regular
IDM.
user,
One second. Nothing but IDM means it's the background functionality, the functionality what you can see in IDM, the same you can see through security console. That means for security console in the background, IDM will be running. That is the point I'm trying to explain.
Correct. Yeah. Sorry, I put it in a different way. So similarly for HCM, it will be OAM.
Sorry. No.
Because
for HCM, what happens, in HCM we discussed, we create employee user. Employee user means you create employee. We create employee and just we'll add user to employee. That only we call as employee user. So when you create the employee in the HCM application, so against that employee, if you need user credentials, just you will provide the username. So when you create employee, will give first name, last name, right? So they belongs to which department, which job, which position, which job, who is the supervisor, all the details will assign. Along with all the set of information, just additional field will give as a username also. Once you create this employee information, this data will be stored in the HCM tables only. But whatever the field we are filling as a username, that username flow into security console. From security console only we can set the password for this employee user, and we can assign the roles, and we can do anything for the employee user also. Okay, so HCM user information will flow to security console only.
Okay.
Yeah.
So OAM has also been discarded in R12?
Sorry, could you please repeat your question? Hello.
OAM is discarded in R12? Was my question.
Your voice is very low. I could hear.
I think he's just.
Okay.
Sorry, you're able to hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think seems to problem from my side.
Sorry. So,
Yeah. Please go ahead.
yeah. So the question was, APM has been discarded in R12. Similarly, is OIM also been discarded in R12?
No. Still, these two are remain, but instead of directly now going to IDM or OEM, they built a framework called as security console. Through security console, you can have access to IDM security, IDM like this user creation and roles assignments and everything. Okay, we have to understand security console is framework which is built against IDM to access IDM. That's all. Fine. So any other questions here, please? Fine, no question.
Yeah, so we are losing your voice sometimes. It happens a little rarely.
One second, let me switch to other network. Maybe the issue with the network. 1 second. 1 second. Yeah, please go ahead with your question.
Okay, so the basic difference between IDM and OIM in R11 is that we can create implementation user in IDM, whereas in OIM
One
it is
second.
employee.
Both are same. IDM and OIM both are same. Those are two terms. You can call as IDM, Identity Manager, or instead of just calling as IDM, you call as Oracle Identity Manager. That's it. OIM. Both are same.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Here, just to understand the definition of the term, I given as two. IDM means Identity Manager. OIM means Oracle Identity Manager. IDM, that's Oracle Identity only. Generally, these two terms we use. That is the reason I written separately, and I mentioned the privileges as same. So both are same. Okay. Any questions, please? Fine. Now just will continue. So so that is the purpose of IDM or OEM. Okay, till release 11, okay, directly we can have access to IDM or OEM to create the users and role assignment, to set the password. It's all about user management we can do from IDM or OEM, and APM to maintain the role template and to do some custom roles definition also as a part of APM. Now you don't see APM from release 12, and IDM we have, but we don't have direct access to IDM. Whatever we can do from IDM, that they are provisioning from security console. Fine. So on the BPM, okay, here BPM stands for business process management. Okay, so in EBS we have AME, Approved Management Engine. Okay, that got replaced with BPM in the Fusion applications. You don't see any AME in Fusion. So if you want to set up any approvals, okay, we have a BPM, Business Process Management. By using the BPM only, you can set up approvals for our financials. Those can be invoice approvals or journal approvals or purchasing related approvals, or any approvals you can set up by using the BPM. Not only just approve, just it's kind of a standard approval. Any notifications you want to set based on the user activity or certain rules, everything you can configure from BPM. In our classes anyway, we are going to cover these BPM also to configure and to test invoice approvals and journal approvals and requisition approvals and purchase order approvals. So all we are going to test so that we can understand how it works and what configuration it will be done. So on each and every point. Okay. So just any query, any question you have on this, please. That's what we have to understand. If you have any question on this, please. So in Fusion, we don't have AME, approved management engine, that got replaced with the BPM. With the BPM, you can set up any approvals. Okay.
So in 11i, we don't have BPM, right?
11i. Are you talking about EBS 11i?
Release 11.
No.
No, release 11. We don't have BPM, right?
Right from beginning of the product. Fusion. In Fusion, we have BPM.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not referring any version here. BPM was there from, even if you look at release 4 and release 5 and release 6, release 7 also. Okay. So that is there from beginning. Okay. So the Fusion, in Fusion, the approvals you can do from BPM. But there were some enhancements they did for the user interface, how it looks like in older versions. Okay, and the latest version. So BPM is there from initial the product development itself. Okay, so as a part of Fusion, we have BPM irrespective of version. If there is some version based impact or some changes, definitely I'll be addressing that. Okay, so BPM is there from very initial versions. Fine. Now, what is the other component we have in?
So,
yeah, please.
Sorry. So basically, if anybody, say supposing Lakshman is given the instance for the first time in the company, you are logging into the middleware and creating accesses. So you are not in the application yet. From middleware, you're creating all the accesses, the user and the rest of the stuff, certain definitions and stuff, and then only you're able to log in into the Fusion application. But initially, you are logging in only into the middleware. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. See, when you talk about EBS, we will log into the instance, right? In EBS, we'll log into the instance. How we are logging, if you compare in this way, there you have to understand, we are logging to the application through sysadmin. That's what we have to understand in EBS, right? Because the user functionality is owned by sysadmin. Okay, through sysadmin we are logging. That means the functionality is owned by sysadmin. In the same way, however, this user management is owned by sysadmin in EBS. In Fusion, that user management related application or IDM and all, they are maintaining in the separate layer called as middleware. Okay, that would be managed by middleware, and that's how we'll be accessing. Okay, so
it's just a layer perspective, but when you log in, it will be like regular application.
See, it's very simple. It's very simple. In EBS also, the sysadmin application, they can move to middleware to manage, okay, the very granular level security and to manage many other security models. They can do it. Any component we can maintain in the middleware, which will get a specific purpose to manage certain processes or anything else.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. That means we are connecting to the instance, okay, through application only, which is managed in middleware. That's it. Which is maintained in the middleware. That's all as a component. Fine. Okay. Now the next component here is. So we discussed about IDM and OM, both are same. APM, approval manage, APM, authorization policy manager. So it's a role template maintenance. It's not required from release 12 onwards. And BPM, business process management, to set up the approvals, we can use it. Okay, to set up approval rules, you can define the approval rules. And the next one is UCM. Okay, UCM stands for Universal Content Management. Okay, UCM stands for Universal Content Management. This also is part of middleware. With this, what we can do is we can perform data imports or exports. Data imports or exports. Say in the Fusion application, you have some set of data that you want to export from Fusion application. Say, okay, you want to export the data, whatever the data you have in the application that you want to export. For the exports, you can use UCM. The exports happen through UCM only. You want to import some data. Say, for example, you want to do the data conversions. You have a master data like suppliers and customers. If you want to load that master data into system, that happens through UCM. It could, you may just you want to say, if you want to do the conversion of transactional data, say open invoices from payables, open transaction from receivables, so that data also you can load into the system through UCM. Here what we have to understand, UCM will play some sort of staging tables when you do the data conversions in EBS. So technical guys will create the staging tables where they can dump the data and just to write some validations, and after validation they'll be populating data into interface. For temporary data stay purpose, we use a staging concept in EBS in the process of conversions and all. Similar, okay, role we have like UCM will play here, but this is a standard solution what Oracle is offering. When we are loading the data in the UCM, you have to load any data by selecting the account. If you are going to load the AP related data, so in the UCM there will be separate accounts. By selecting the specific account path, you have to load it. That we'll see in the classes. We will be working on the data conversions. We'll see the end-to-end process of how to load the suppliers, how to load the customers, and how to load the open transactions data and the assets and journals. All will be testing and will be executing, and we'll see results also. So we don't need to worry about it. Just as a point, try to understand UCM stands for Universal Content Management. Through this, we can perform the data imports and exports. The best example you can take, data conversions. Okay, this is what we have to understand. So any questions from anyone, please?
So the content management is capable of both table level data storage, which is staging table, as well as
file based data management. What are the data you have in your files, tables, that you can extract, that can be maintained within the UCM. In the UCM there won't be any validation. Say for example, I have 100 payable invoices. I'll keep in the spreadsheet. There may be invalid data. That file I will load into UCM. UCM is not going to validate the data. It will be holding the file, maybe valid file or invalid file. The next step is that file we can move from UCM to interface table. When data goes and hit interface table, the validations will come into picture, right? The mandatory fields, optional fields, and data format, etc. Just UCM will hold the data files, that's all, in the process of imports or exports, nothing else. So UCM case,
okay, so basically
any tables, just files.
Okay, so basically like a file storage in
that's
folders.
it. Yes.
Stuff. Okay.
Exactly. Content management, which is maintained through file system. Fine. Any other questions here, please? Okay. So primarily this is what we have to understand when we are working as a functional consultant. Apart from that, there are many other components. Whatever you have in the middleware, generally we call as middleware components. So there are many other middleware components like SOA, BPEL, and all. SOA stands for Service Oriented Architecture. It's related to technical, so that's the reason we don't need to discuss much. But let's try to understand high level. Okay, SOA, Service Oriented Architecture. Service oriented. What is the use of this SOA? With the in Fusion, if you want to integrate, say for example, you have some XYZ third party system that you want to integrate with the GL. In EBS, what we do directly, we build a sub interface with the help of technical team. We do the field mapping and we'll write some exception handling, error handling, etc., etc. And will be just directly the technical team will build sub interface from third party applications to GL interface. That's how the mapping would be done. But in the Fusion, you cannot have direct integration with any other third party application with the Fusion applications, or from any Fusion applications to any third party application. Any integration you want to do, that should happen through SOA only. Okay, so what we have to do is, with the help of SOA only we do any integrations. So you have some XYZ application. So the XYZ application, so you have some XYZ application. The XYZ application, you have to do the mapping with SOA. Okay, this has to be plugged with the SOA. Through SOA, that XYZ application data you want to map with which Oracle Fusion applications. So that you have to decide. Accordingly, you have to do the mapping. Through SOA, you can do that mapping, or you can build the interfacing logic to which application the data has to be imported. So you want to get the data from XYZ to AP. Okay, so in that case, you cannot build a integration however you do in EBS. In EBS, what we do directly from XYZ applications to AP or AR. So this is how you cannot do the integration. This is not possible. Okay, direct integration is not possible. What we have to do is, if you are going to integrate Fusion applications and third party application, those two we have to connect through SOA only. Okay, the SOA is part of middleware. So the SOA is a kind of just plug and play environment. So you no need to do all the programming, how you do programming and all in the EBS case. It's a SOA more like drag and drop options you can find, since it's a cloud. Okay, that sort of solution they're given. Again, there are many inbuilt connectors. I mean, depending on what sort of data you want to, I mean, what how you want to do the how you want to integrate the data. It's on I mean, what I can say, online integration, seamless integration, where all the time data will keep syncing, or batch process, or from which system you are going to integrate the data, completely non-Oracle product, or the product which is owned by Oracle but that may not be part of Fusion application, which product. Depending on that, there are many multiple options. So just I'll take you through some sort of discussion once we start working on the application, to understand what are the different options we have when we are going to integrate third party application with the Fusion application. I'll give you the technical integration overview. Okay, high level overview, what are the information we require being a functional consultant. But for now, just this is what you have to understand in Fusion applications. Okay, if you want to integrate any third party application with Fusion, any one of the application, or if you want to build some outbound interface where you will be moving the data from Fusion application to third party applications, everything should happen through SOA, service oriented org structure. It's just plug and play environment. You can plug this XYZ to SOA. The SOA will be plugging with the AP. In between, you can write many rules, conditions, validations. The data will be pumped from XYZ to SOA. SOA will have all the validations, etc., how you want to manage the data before you take into AP. Once the data is purified here or validated here, that only will just go to AP or any other application. It's just simply we call as plug and play environment for any integration. That could be inbound or outbound. That's all. So that's what we have to understand here. BPEL, BPEL, we call as BPEL. BPEL stands for Business Process Execution Language. So it's more we use it for approvals. Say you want to build some custom approval workflow. Already we discussed, we have a BPM, business process management. Okay, through business process management we can write the approval rules. If you want to write your custom rules, custom approvals, in case of EBS, we can find a workflow developer we have. Through workflow developer you can customize the workflows. In the same way, the BPM process, if you want to customize, which we generally use for approvals, that can be possible through this BPEL only. This is a language which we use to customize the BPM as per business requirement. Okay, BPEL, business process execution language. Not only these, there are many other middleware components. There are many other middleware components, and one more point is you can say, let me include uh, LDAP. Okay, so LDAP stands for, we'll come across this most of the time when you start working on the system, but let's talk about it now itself to understand how it is related to this IDM and all. So LDAP stands for lightweight. Okay, L stands for lightweight, D stands for directory, A stands for access, P stands for protocol. It's a directory service which is available in the middleware. What happens is, in EBS, say I have a user called as XYZ. For that user, I am assigning the role responsibility called as AP super user responsibility. So once you assign AP super user responsibility to user, you can log into the instance as a XYZ. Immediately you can see AP supervisor. So for this user, whatever the responsibility you are assigning, once you assign and save, that would get stored in the tables accordingly. So based on that table information only, this user can have access to this AP super user. But in the Fusion, it won't happen in that way. What happens is, you will assign to the user specific role. Say AP role you assign. Say AP related payables manager role you assign. You assign, that would get stored in the database. Say for example, for AP payables manager role, you just mapped some BU1. Done. BU1 you map to payables manager. The payables manager role you assign to XYZ user. Now within the system database, you could see, okay, this role is assigned to this XYZ user. But if you log into the instance with XYZ user, even you have access to payables manager, you cannot start accessing the payables manager to record the transactions or to perform any activity. What its system has to do is, whatever you are doing, this set of activity, this set of information for which user, which role you are assigning, this information need to be updated in the middleware within LDAP. LDAP directories. So you just assign role to user, that is not enough. Whatever the role you assigned with the to user, that information should be updated in the LDAP directories. Lightweight directory access protocol. The directory services, the data need to be updated. Then whenever a user will try to log into the instance, what system will do is, the system will go and verify for that user which privileges are available as per LDAP directories, not as per the, okay, just IDM, whatever the task you are doing. For specific user you assign the role, so that definition system won't look at. Based on the definition, the same which information is updated in the LDAP directories, okay, through the directory services only the user will be provisioned access to specific role related functions. So this is how it works. In case of EBS, user assign the responsibility, so log into the instance, the user can have access. But in the Fusion, there is one more step which system will consider. Whatever you are doing, that should get updated in the LDAP directories. If it is not updated, even you have this kind of association, role assignment to user, that user cannot, okay, get access to that role to perform relevant activities. Once this definition is updated in the LDAP, then only that user will have access. Whenever user will log in, the user will, already we discussed, the user related maintenance will be done by IDM. Through IDM, the privileges will be verified in the LDAP directories. Then only that respective role related access can be given to user. That's how they are routing, okay, as a part of security model. So this is a point we have to understand when we talk about middleware. Okay, so LDAP
Question.
directories. Yeah, please.
Yeah, is there anything like we need to set up for this LDAP to automatically
I can understand,
create?
but if possible, you can be a bit loud.
Yeah. So, is there any setup that needs to be done at the initial stage to have this information in the LDAP directory?
No setup is required. No setup is required. whenever you just do this assignment, automatically this information will sync with LDAP directories, and sometimes it may take time to sync this information with LDAP directories. Say you created a user and you assign the role you are trying to access. So as per standard process, okay, automatically this information has to be synced with LDAP directories. Sometimes it may not happen. It may take some time to update this in the LDAP directories. If that is a scenario, if this user is trying to access to payables manager role for this BU, the user cannot have access. If you try to click on this payables manager role, it won't open anything. Sometimes it may open payables manager related function. The user won't find BU information over there. The reason, this data is not synchronized properly in the LDAP. So if that is a scenario, Oracle recommends to submit LDAP job. That we'll discuss once we get into the application. So Oracle strongly recommend to run LDAP job to have a immediate synchronization. Even if you don't run also, this will get synchronized with the LDAP. Synchronization means updating here. So that is a Oracle recommendation. When you assign any role to user, submit LDAP job, LDAP job. We have a job, one job called as LDAP. In EBS, what we call as a program, the same program here we are calling as a job. So once you submit the job, immediate synchronization will take place. Otherwise, it may take some ideal time to update this information in LDAP. Till the time you may not have access to particular role from respective user. Okay. Oracle recommendation is whenever you do this kind of activity, submit LDAP job. We'll see how to submit, what level it works, what we have to understand about it going forward. Okay.
Say suppose, yeah. So say supposing there is an XYZ third-party non-Oracle system that is sending a file to be imported into AP, then it will send the file to UCM, and SOA will access the UCM file and send the data to AP. Is that correct?
Yes, through SOA, data will flow into AP. That's all.
But if it is a file, data file that is coming in that needs to be imported, the file needs to sit in UCM, right? Because that is a file management system.
I got your question. There are 2 points. See, there are different options. If you are just pumping the data from here to SOA, from SOA to AP, that is a one option. Otherwise, you can follow the mechanism where you can get the data from XYZ through SOA into UCM. That means complete file you will be getting. That file you will be populating into AP interface, from there you will be importing. That is also possible. 2 options we have. Only data or complete data file.
Okay, so which means that a third-party non-Oracle system cannot pass a file to UCM directly.
Can transfer, that's what I'm telling. 2 options are available. How you will be in the SOA, how you are going to do the mapping, that completely depends.
Okay. Yeah, now I understood.
Defining the rule to take the data from the system to, anyway, from XYZ file only will come to SOA, right? Once a file will come to SOA has to send that file to UCM, where the rest of process will be managed by submitting. We have a program called as interface file for import. By submitting that program, you want to fetch that data from UCM file to interface, or so once the file will come from XYZ to SOA has to extract the data. Only data need to be sent populated in the AP interface. That you can decide. That programming, that integration logic can be decided accordingly. It will work. Okay. So any data is coming in applications, it's not mandatory. You have to get file only into UCM. Okay, no. Directly also you can do it.
Lakshman, I have a question. So the middleware, whether it's SOA or UCM or LDP, we don't have direct access to it. Is that correct? Or do we have access to the middleware component?
Middleware, when you talk about middleware, for middleware components will be having access. Okay. So we'll be working on user creation role assignment. through security console. Security console will be running on top of these IDM. IDM is part of middleware. We can access, we can perform the activities which are served by middleware component called as IDM through security console. When you talk about APM, no APM now from release 12. BPM, directly you can have access to BPM, but we know that is standing as a part a middleware component. Okay, that is there in the middleware as a one of the component. You don't see title as a middleware, but directly you can access to BPM. But we, as a point, we have to understand this is we are accessing which is placed in the middleware. Okay, UCM also we have a user interface where you can upload the files and which you can see which are available in UCM. Okay, which got placed in the middleware, and the SOA and all these are purely technical. Okay, so with a respective process you will be able to access. So specific component you can access, okay, but not direct access to middleware. Means the technical people can have access to complete middleware. There they can choose they want to navigate to IDM part or APM part or BPM part or SOA, etc., etc.
So when we bring in the data from third-party system in
Can
our
you be a bit
example,
loud, please?
yeah. So when we bring in data from a third-party system like XYZ
Yeah.
into SOA and then to AP. So if we don't have access to the SOA, whatever, how do we do the mapping and how do we do the validations and all the
No, no, no.
checkpoints and everything before we move the data
No,
to
simple
AP?
point. Being a functional consultant, what we do is first we'll study XYZ's application, right? Say you want to bring invoice
Right.
data from XYZ to AP. Okay. Now what we have to do is first point is we should understand. Okay, to create the invoice, AP invoice, what is the very fundamental data? That is the first point we have to understand, irrespective of client how they are recording the invoice. Very fundamental information which is required. If that information is not available, you cannot create invoice. So that we have to understand. The next point is, so whether this data we are going to get from XYZ application or not. In the XYZ application, this same data is maintained or not, if you maintain with which naming convention, which field, etc. This mapping. The next point is, along with this data, what are the additional data we have to bring from XYZ to AP, and how that logic can be built, whether you want to bring through DFF concept additional data, or you want to replace some other mandatory field with another data which you are coming from XYZ. These points we have to analyze. Once we are done with that, so we'll be specifying in XYZ so and so field we have say entity field need to be mapped with operating unit field of AP or business unit field of AP. The XYZ vendor field should be mapped with trading partner field of EB, that Fusion application, right? Voucher number field need to be mapped with invoice number field. This is what we have to do the mapping. Based on that, the technical people can start working those fields. They'll make sure that whatever the mapping we are doing to pass the data through that mapping from XYZ to AP, so they'll make sure that the same required data fields they are going to bring from XYZ to SOA first, so then from SOA to AP. The mapping they'll be building in SOA. So which data is, which fields are getting inflow of data from XYZ to SOA. From there, the data need to be pumped into AP, which field and all. They can come up with a logic. Just you no need to look into SOA. You have to look at that XYZ application, AP application. The programming logic and mapping they will do it, but functionality point of view we have to do mapping. The same experience we can take from EBS.
Right. It sounds same. Like, so we are giving the mapping and the validation also logic to technical team, and they will do that.
Yeah, they will do it.
SOA,
They will
and
do it.
then pass the data.
They'll do it, and we'll just we'll talk to them. We'll have interaction with them. If they have any query to help them, how it should work if this is a scenario, and we'll be telling these are the mandatory fields. Anyway, they'll come to know. It's not a just simple task. We'll do the mapping. We'll have a level of discussions, and we'll look at all the case scenarios. So that's how that can be executed. Okay.
So
SOA
if
is
it's
a staging or an interface
Sorry.
table. So SOA, it's a staging or interface? It's like
It
staging or
is
interface
intermediate
if you
step. It
compare it
is
to EBS.
intermediate step. See, let me talk about it. Say XYZ application. Before that, let me ask you the question. You know how interfacing happens in EBS, right?
Right.
Yeah, then it's easy for us now. So XYZ to SOA. SOA to AP interface. From AP interface to AP means base tables. That's it.
Okay.
If you take the same case in EBS, how it works? No SOA,
We have staging.
staging. They may, for conversions, they may create some staging, okay, or else they do some programming through that validations only. Once the data is passed with validation, they'll move the data into this. That's it.
Right.
So the same thing, if the invoice information is very basic and very direct and no complicated validation is required and everything, the same thing can be written like XYZ to UCM to AP interface to AP base table. Is it possible?
Yeah, in that case, that also should route through SOA only. In the SOA only, you have to write that, you have to give the specification saying that from XYZ file will be coming, that file should be placed in the UCM, and whether user is going to import that file information into, user is going to populate that file information into AP interface, or else you want to schedule the job to do it. Okay. Anyway, you will be bringing the data from XYZ to SOA. Okay, once data will come to SOA, that has to be automated till we get the data into AP based tables, or once file is available, file need to be, once you place the file in the UCM as per a requirement, from there whatever the data you have in the file, that has to be manually populated in the AP interface. Manually populating means by manual submission of program, or that has to be automated. That you can specify. If you manually, if you are going, so you through SOA, that file will be placed in UCM. Okay, sorry, UCM. Then what user has to do is, user has to run interface file for import. There will be one job called as interface file for import. Once user run, the file data will move from here to here. Now again, user has to submit the program called as import suppliers information. Information is suppliers information. If information is invoice information, import payable invoices. Another job. Okay, that's how you. Otherwise, the total process can be automated.
Lakshman, I have a question. Actually, I'm confused.
Yeah, please.
How is UCM different from SOA? Like, what is the function of the UCM in the processing
It's
conversion?
very simple. It's very simple. SOA, we do the field mapping, okay, from the system to what data we require, and you will be writing certain rules, conditions, and validations. UCM is a directory to store the data. Say for example, in your personal laptop, you have a C drive, D drive, E drive. You got one PDF file, you can place in the D drive. You got one spreadsheet file, you can place in the D drive or C drive. So that is storage area which will hold, okay, which will hold the files in specific account specification. In your personal laptop, okay, you can place the file in the D drive or C drive or E drive. That means there is a specific drive we are placing. In the same way, in UCM also will have accounts. For AP, one account, AR, one account. Once you get the file, if the data is related to AP, in AP account will be placed in the file. So within that file, there could be some 100% invalid data. UCM will accept. So when the validation will come into the picture, when you try to populate that UCM file data into respect to interface, then validations will come into picture. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
With regard to access.
Sorry.
So with regard to access to UCM, from access standpoint, UCM can be accessed manually by an individual user to upload a file to UCM, or UCM will accept file from SOA, or UCM will accept file from the application itself. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, all options are possible. As a user directly, you have a navigation to upload the file into UCM, to see the file into UCM, to select UCM available files into respective process when you submit the program. Okay, so we have all options. We have all options. It can receive through some other interface SOA, or it can receive from other logic, or it can the files can be received into UCM by user submission. All are there. All are possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, fine.
So one last question,
Please,
Lakshman.
please.
So UCM is like a place where we store our third-party data files, right?
Yeah,
And SOA will have access to UCM. So is it correct to say that
correct.
my
It can be
from
simple.
XYZ web?
UCM, yes, it's to maintain the data files which are related to third party, or else those may not be third party data. It may be some data which you want to load into application which is related to your business, which is not from some third party, which is from your just business.
Yeah,
Any
yeah,
data,
okay.
any data file.
Yes, I understand. So is it correct to say that from UCM data goes to SOA and then goes to AP interface and then base table?
No, no,
Because you said
no,
SOA
no,
is for
simple.
validations.
Yeah, simple. So I want to load the suppliers data into payables or say purchasing. So I have a data file. I have a data file directly. The data file I load into UCM. Once file is available in the UCM, directly I can populate the file into AP interface. Now no interaction with the SOA. SOA will come into the picture if the data you are bringing into Fusion application through other third party integration. You have XYZ application, here you have suppliers data. That suppliers data you want to get into payables. Then through UCM you'll move that file to, sorry, through SOA you'll move that file into UCM. Then it'll
Okay.
populate interface, then it'll import into base tables. That's it. Okay.
Fine. Yeah.
If you are going to get from other system, then SOA will come into picture. If you are going to load manually, no SOA, direct UCM to respective interface and base tables. Yeah, please go ahead.
So we can also load data from like EBS, right, into Fusion using SOA.
What do you mean by loading the data from EBS to Fusion through SOA?
So if the client is using EBS R12 and then they want to move to Fusion, so for their data conversion, can they use the same process that you have explained?
No, it's now in that case EBS we treat as third party system only. EBS will become third party.
Right.
In case of third party, you have to extract the data from third party. It can be EBS or some any other system. The file data will load into UCM. Okay, that will populate interface will take into base tables. Or else you have a,
It doesn't need to go through SOA?
not required. You are loading, right? You are loading. The same EBS system, if you want to build online interface, the client is going to use EBS system. Okay, client is going to use EBS system, and say from EBS payables or EBS client is using the purchasing application, but only financials client is going to implement in the cloud. So in that case, if you want to bring the purchase orders information into Fusion applications for your matching process or another purposes, in that case SOA will come into picture. Only online interaction purpose only we use SOA integration purpose only. If it is offline activity, no.
So
Okay.
for data conversion, we don't use SOA, and for
SOA is
regular
not required for a data conversions. We
import.
don't use SOA. Get file, load into UCM, populate into interface, import into base tables. That's it.
Only if we're getting data on regular
Only
basis.
for integrations.
through
Only for
interface.
integrations. Do we do integrations for data conversions?
No.
No. That is the reason SOA won't come into picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, I think of SOA. It's a service-oriented architecture. So only pre-existing services or the services
Custom
provided
also,
by
custom
Oracle
services.
that is
All
already
pre-built
existing can be
services.
used. Correct?
Okay, pre-built services for Oracle, some specific products, mostly Oracle owned products. There are Oracle acquired many products, as we discussed in the previous sessions, as we know very well. So for those all, we no need to say, for example, if you are going to integrate XYZ application, for XYZ application, you have to do a lot of work in the SOA to do the integration. But say you are going to use some PeopleSoft application integration with the Fusion applications. So for most of the Oracle owned other products, okay, what Oracle acquired and owned, for those products already they built predefined connectors, okay, predefined integration solutions. If any PeopleSoft client wants to use Fusion applications and specific application data they want to integrate with the Fusion, already solution is built by Oracle. So through SOA they have to connect, then data will flow automatically. The pre-built solutions are available from Oracle for other Oracle
Okay.
products to use in the Fusion.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Fine. So that's all about we have to understand about middleware. These are the few middleware components. There are many other, but not required for us when you are working as a functional
Hello.
consultant. So we don't go and touch those areas. Minimum, this is what we have to understand. Primarily functional. These are the
Just one
functional
question.
related, and rest are related to technical. Yeah, please.
I forgot actually. So this LDAP, right? In the LDAP, so do you have UI for this one to update anything? So if you say it's not synced,
Yeah,
you
will
can go.
be
Is there any?
no in EBS we have SRS window, right?
Yeah.
The same way
No,
here
no,
we
no. What
have
I'm saying is, yeah. I mean,
EXS
you
download.
said you have to submit the job. I got that one. But what I'm saying is, if so is there any like a user interface to check whether the record is existing in LDAP or not? If
So
it's
that is
not existing, to
that
trouble.
that comes under technical part.
So you don't have a UI here
UI you have
for
just
LDAP?
you can go and assign the relevant roles, so that will give you the access to LDAP functions.
So you cannot direct.
Normally, what
I know
happens?
the LDAP
Yeah, please.
file system. So for on-premise version of Fusion, so is there something like a files separate server or something that we have to
Yes, yes. On-premise,
like?
when you say on-premise, same as EBS, will buy the product, will take the license for the product. You can install. When you install it, definitely the file system and everything will be in our control. You can go and access. You can place. You can create some custom tabs and you can do customizations. You can place over there any file you want to add in that for the
Like
process of.
LDAP, I'm
You
just
can do that.
concerned about this. I'm concerned about the LDAP.
Oh, you're talking about LDAP. Yeah.
Yeah, LDAP. So now, if it's on-premise, right? So you're saying there is a job that will run that will update the LDAP, right?
Correct.
So it's a file system. That's
Yeah, in
what
that case,
I
yeah,
know
I
of.
got your point. You require access to middleware then. If you have a
Okay.
access to middleware, then everything will be able to touch. Whatever you want to open and see, you'll be able to do it. Okay.
Okay.
Until unless you don't have access to middleware, you cannot see all the middleware components. So few you can see with respective user interfaces. Okay.
Okay.
So you can just look into IDM related through security console, APM related till 11 you can go and see directly. You can access BPM now in 12 or 13 also you can see. UCM with a limited access, like just to upload, and when we are going to run the program, what are the files available in UCM you can see. And these totally pure technical. We never touch those. But just this for our understanding, I'm trying to explain that directory. This is one of the directory service which comes in purely technical and a middleware component.
Is ADF and BI part of middleware?
ADF, yes. ADF and ADF and the next one you said.
BI tool.
BIP. Okay,
Business
yeah.
intelligence.
BIP. See, that is the flavor of like OBIEE. Okay, that is a server we have. That is a separate server which will be part of middleware. Within that, one of the function, one of the layer of reporting or analysis is BIP or called BI. Middleware only.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Middleware, yes. Fine. Even if you are going to just create some custom applications and all those everything, you'll be deploying in the middleware only. You'll be just deploying the middleware, but whatever the application will be running, so it will be uh, deployed in the application environment. The complete control will be done through this. Since these are the applications which we'll use for business process, we are classifying as applications. And when you're running these applications to administrate all these applications and integrations and other aspects, technical aspects, we'll be using the middleware. This
So for
administration part, you
so
can.
for ADF,
Yeah, please.
so for ADF executable deployment or BI deployment, you have separate server, or is it stored in the UCM?
Not UCM. See, UCM is just file management purpose, not UCM. For that, within the application only, they'll give some additional platform where you can develop and deploy. When you are going to use that application, also will be controlled by middleware components only. Okay,
Okay,
with
thank you.
this application layer only, you will get separate custom platform access that will allow you to do all those development and to deploy. When you deploy, finally the deployment will contact this middleware access only. Through middleware only, that access can be provisioned to any user. That will
Okay,
be
thank you.
connected to middleware. Okay, but you don't place that in the middleware directly. Okay, that's how it works. For that, we have a application separate servers. So those servers, those will be running. Fine. So any other questions, please? Okay, so
One
these are the
question.
points you have to understand. Any questions?
Yeah, hello, am I audible?
Yeah, please. Yes.
Yeah. So Lakshman, what I'm asking is, for this middleware, being a functional consultant, do we need to have the idea of the middleware components, and is this being handled by the technical people, or being a functional consultant, we do need to know about what are these components and all sort of things?
No, we being a functional consultant, we no need to work on middleware. Okay, if you take any implementation project, just for our understanding, I'm explaining all these points. These are all are inbuilt components and all. When we start working on application, how things will happen, we are trying to understand. Say you are doing the vanilla implementation. So in that case, you no need to touch anything. To set up approvals, you will go to the BPM, you will set it up. When you are loading the data, you load it. But in the background, through what the data will be processed, and we are trying to understand. Oh, and when we are going to create the users from security console, so what is the background, and in which component, through which component that process can be handled, and when we assign some role to the user, so how that LDAP will come into the picture, what is the meaning of that, we are trying to understand. But think you don't need to do anything. When we are working on any vanilla implementation or other implementation, kind of some custom based implementation, so if integration is required, the technical people, the SOA consultant will come into the picture to do integrations. Being a functional consultant, we don't need to go and touch any middleware components to do some modification, to do anything. If at all you are going to do, max will be accessing BPM to go and define the rules. But when we are working, just we will have a task to navigate to BPM. That is also a functional task which will be executing to understand. This is a part of what we are discussing these, as BPM will falls into middleware component. That's it. Okay, take these all for understanding. We don't need to do anything. So whatever we have to do, just we'll discuss in the classes. We'll be doing that as per as a functional consultant. What we'll be doing, those you may do as a part of this to, I mean, what are related to this functional applications which are connected to middleware will access that components and will be doing. But as a separate middleware components, there won't be any additional work which you have to do. Say for AP you need approvals. You will access to approval related function will do approvals. Approvals we can set up through BPM. BPM is middleware component. Just for information, we are discussing. Otherwise, you don't need to do anything with that middleware component. You have to understand how to set up approval rules for AP invoice by navigating to BPM. For everything middleware components also, which are very much connected with the application functionalities, they're given the very generic common user interface. Okay, separate navigation is also not required. Okay, so this is what we have to understand. So any questions here, please? When it's already 9:40, we'll connect in the next session and we'll continue from here. We'll just talk about why we have a space database.
The number is your number. The India number which is showing over there, is that?
Yeah, you can call on any one of the numbers which you could see in those mails or so videos.
So your number is this one, 888-609.
Yes, yes. You can call on this number. I'll be available.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, fine. That's all for today. We're done with the today's session, and you can drop from the meeting if you want to drop. If you have any questions, you can stay back and we can go with those discussions. Any questions from anyone, please? We're done with the session. That's all. That's all for today. We'll connect. I think today Friday, so Monday we'll be connecting same time, and we'll continue from here. And still we have to talk about this space database, what is the purpose, and other topics here. 1 second, please. When I'm just talking about, if you don't mind, just can wait for some time. So after that, we'll talk about enterprise structure. Then we'll talk about function setup manager. Once we're done with that, then we'll see how to create the user, how to assign the roles, and then how to create the project. That's how we can start with the system. Okay, any questions from anyone, please?
So tomorrow there is no session?
Yeah, tomorrow no session. Okay, we have sessions from Monday to Friday on. Monday to Friday India time. Okay.
So that means Sunday.
Your voice is breaking. Your voice is breaking.
I got it, no problem.
Yeah, please. Thank you. Fine. So next session on Monday, 8 a.m. IST.
So Lakshman,
Yeah, please.
yeah, sorry to interrupt. One last question. So Lakshman, these in Fusion application, the Oracle Fusion application layer, middleware, database, all these are maintained in the virtual server, right?
Yeah,
on internet?
is maintained within the virtual server only. Yes, you're right.
Okay. Thank you.
Fine. So any other questions from anyone, please?
So you were talking about the two databases, right? One is
No. That point we'll discuss in the next session, because I just given the point. We didn't get into the discussion. In next session, we'll talk about it.
Got it.
Two we require, how those two will sync, what is the purpose, why two are required. All those points we'll discuss next session. After discussing, if you if you have any doubt or any clarity, definitely we can discuss. Otherwise, now if we start discussing, it goes like that. We have to understand a few things, right? So we'll talk on that after completing the discussion.
So you had mentioned that ADF, though it is deployed in the apps tier,
Correct.
It will go through the middleware. What is the name of the middleware system that handles it?
Sorry? No. The middleware system won't handle, so that any application like will be, you will be deploying into the respective platform. The application development platform will be deploying. So that will be running on the separate server. So again, to use that applications, you will be creating the roles. Okay, within that role you will be including that application related functions. When you talk about the role, the roles all will be managed by which application? IDM application. And that IDM application access we are getting through security console. So that's how that any application related functionality will be controlled or secured by this roles concept only. Say you will develop two forms, two ADF pages, or you may develop 10 ADF pages, and altogether you may create one application. So if you want to provision that entire application or specific functions to use, or against that, you have to create the function. You have to create the privileges. Those privileges you have to group into role. The roles you have to register in IDM. Okay, IDM. Through IDM only, IDM access now from release 12 you are getting through security console. Okay, so through security console, the custom ADF page functionality related or custom ADF based application which you developed, you can assign to the user. That's how these things are connected.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Fine. Any other questions from anyone, please? Fine. Seems to no questions. We can wind up the session for today. We'll connect on Monday. The next session would be Monday 8 a.m. IST. Okay. So that's all for today. Thank you all. Have a good day and good night.